Happy Friday morning, everybody. We've made it through another week. Appreciate you tuning in to us here on JOX. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell, of course, with you until 7 o'clock. And it's a great day because Friday is our favorite day of the week, of course, not only because it means it is almost time for the weekend, but that means we are a little over 24 hours away from another weekend of great college football action, and it means that it's Final Score Friday on the show. So if you're new to the show here, what that means is all you have to do, text in 205-834-9450. That'll get you on the courtesy GMC text line, and you tell us your final score predictions for whatever games that you're going to be watching this weekend, whether that's Auburn and Arkansas, Alabama, South Carolina. Maybe you don't care about either of those, and you're just really fired up for the Syracuse and Georgia Tech game, and you know exactly what the final score is going to be.
Yeah,
we would love to hear that from you.
Texas, Mississippi State. Is anybody going to pick out the straight up upset for the Mississippi State Bulldogs there at home? Back-to-back road games for Texas. Last week struggled with Kentucky. Not as pretty of a game that you wanted to see, and Mississippi State could be smelling blood in the water, man. And then, of course, my Ole Miss Rebels take that trip over to Norman, Oklahoma. Now I got to go with either my heart or my head. I mean, I love John Mateer, just not against this Ole Miss defense, baby. I tell you what. But I'm interested to see where our final scores kind of go, because there's one game in particular I'm interested to see where the read is, because you can convince me on both sides of it that maybe one school in the state does figure it out, and then you could tell me that Bobby P and those boys just lit them up, and I'd believe that as well. So I'm just interested to see how a lot of people feel about Auburn, Arkansas heading into Saturday.
It will be it is certainly going to be interesting, and to see what some of these predictions that we get from our listeners are, because we get some, you have some people that are holding on and trying to be optimistic, and then I think at this point, right, you can't really it's hard to argue against whatever the Auburn fan perspective is that they have in terms of
they're close.
If you've totally given up hope, I can't blame you for that. But if you're still holding on to some optimism, and you do, again, not buying into the whole close mentality the same way that Hugh Freeze is, but I can also understand why you do have some optimism. So it's going to be very interesting to see, and of course we'll talk about that game and many more coming up here on the program today. But let's start off with the big news coming out of one of the matchups here involving a team from the state, or at least the thing that probably caught some of your attention last night if you pay attention to the injury reports, because yesterday, of course, we gave the kiss of death when we came on here and said, man, Alabama's about as healthy as they could possibly be. There's nobody on the injury report. They are riding high right now. So, of course, what happens yesterday is the injury report comes out last night, and turns out that there's a couple names on there that weren't on there the night before. So the big one, I know for a lot of you, is going to be Latsier Brooks, the true freshman wide receiver who has really, really turned into a nice player there in the offense. So he was listed as doubtful last night on the availability report for Alabama. Gino Vandemark, one of the offensive linemen, he was listed as questionable. And so I was talking to some people in Tuscaloosa last night, and all I can say is it wasn't a injury that he sustained in practice. So it wasn't a situation where he's out on the practice field, something happens in the middle of a play, and he has to be taken off because of an injury. So there is some optimism that maybe it's not very serious, or it could be, I guess not an injury altogether. Maybe he's sick, something along those lines. So that's what.
Oh, you did some digging.
That's what I was.
You pulled your Pablo Torre. You was like, hey, wait a minute now. He was not on there Wednesday. Got to see what's going on.
I'm just telling you what I was told by somebody in Tuscaloosa last night, is that he did not leave practice yesterday with an injury. So,
okay. Hey, Crimson Conrad had them sources, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
I gotta tell the people what they want to know, and also what I wanted to know last night, because I was very curious.
Yeah, right. Like, wait a minute now.
I was like, that's not a name I wanted to see on there. So I don't know if that makes you feel any better or not if you're an Alabama fan, but I would take that as a positive thing. So we will see if it's something that can be taken care of over the next 24 hours or so, or if it's a situation where you're just going to get maybe a little more Rico Scott and guys like that in the mix on Saturday against South Carolina. And for South Carolina, the good news is they had the opposite effect. They had a bunch of guys get cleared off of their injury report. So all they had now is Casey Henry, who's been out for them anyways on the offensive line. So things looking good there for South Carolina. But yeah, that was the big one last night. Latsier Brooks listed as doubtful. So may have to be without him for this weekend, but doesn't at least again, from what I was told last night, does not seem like it's going to be something that we should be looking at as a long-term injury. And then Danny Lewis, who was banged up last week, he is going to be out this game as well. So a few injury notes there for Alabama. Now for Auburn, not looking at the injury stuff so much, but this is an interesting part of what Damian was saying at the beginning, where it's going to be interesting to see how people feel about this game. And part of why I think you're going to see some change of heart potentially in this game is because of the weather. So if you haven't been paying attention, it's going to be really nasty. So if you're an Auburn fan traveling to Fayetteville for this game, I'm sorry. Bring a raincoat. I will just say that if that's the case. But the forecast as of right now, so this is from a meteorologist, James Bryant, over there in Arkansas. And he says this is the forecast. It says by Saturday, rain will spread east across most of Arkansas. The Arkansas and Auburn game with an 11:45 a.m. kick will have steady rain with wind gusts at 20 miles per hour, and the rain will taper off on Sunday morning.
Okay.
So you're going to be dealing with, it's going to be messy. It's going to be messy in Fayetteville, but I will say this. If this were to benefit one side, I would think it would benefit the team that doesn't throw the football very well.
So you're telling me there's a chance, Conrad?
I'm just saying, again, it may not be the most fun thing to watch, but if you're looking for that first SEC win for the Auburn Tigers, maybe that helps you a little bit.
Yeah, now Hugh Freeze has no other choice but to run the football. Can't take it out of their hands now, because I would hate for him to call an RPO in a monsoon. And when your offense has already been struggling out there as far as throwing the ball, yeah, you may want to make this one a ground and pound attack. Hope Jeremiah Cobb and those boys ate their Wheaties this week.
Yeah, hope so. So, so that's your forecast for the Auburn-Arkansas game tomorrow. Not expected to be sunshine and rainbows during that game. So just be prepared. Might be a little sloppy. And, again, I think that benefits Auburn a little bit, right, because Arkansas is more proficient throwing the football. And Arkansas's run defense is really, really bad, and that's the one thing that we know when they're given the opportunity to. Auburn typically this year has had a lot of success running the football, so maybe that benefits them at the long run. So that's your updates there on Alabama and Auburn, kind of what's going on for their matchups this weekend. Alabama a little banged up. Auburn going to be playing through some sloppy weather. But last night you did have Thursday night. I almost said Monday night. Thursday night football. And it was kind of a dud. We kind of got back to what we had last year, where these games were not great. But we've had some high quality Thursday night football this year so far. But last night just not really the case, as the Chargers took down the Vikings 37-10. Vikings offense pretty gross to watch last night. To be honest, Carson Wentz not very good. But Justin Herbert was very good for the Chargers last night. So he had 227 passing yards. Had 3 touchdowns as well as an interception. How about Vidal, the running back there he's the third string running back for the Chargers. So after Najee Harris went down and then Amarian Hampton went down, he's now had to step in and had a really nice 3-game stretch there for LA. So he has 117 yards on the ground last night as well as a touchdown. Ladd McConkey, he had a big day, 6 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown to lead all receivers last night. And then how about this? Justin Aboigbe, the Alabama alum, he had a couple of sacks last night to lead the way defensively. So all around, really, really nice showing by the Chargers as they kind of get back on their feet, and now they're at 5-3. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those games where if you didn't miss it, you didn't miss it.
Nah.
It is what it is, but if you're a Chargers fan, you were happy. If you're a Vikings fan, you actually may have thought to yourself last night, I'd rather watch J.J. McCarthy, which is sad. And if that's you, I feel bad for you that you have to be in that situation.
Yeah, shout out to Kamani Vidal, Troy Trojan, here representing the state of Alabama, toting that thing. How about my Ole Miss Rebels? Trey Harris with his first touchdown in his young NFL career as well. So, yeah, the Chargers kind of, if you needed a get-right game, you got right last night. And it's something that they needed after the couple losses where their defense was not so good.
No.
But I think that Justin Herbert, those guys, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, his mo is toting the rock, and he has a 5'8", 215-pound boulder back there. That's all right. I'll do whatever I need to, and took a lot of pressure off. And shout out to Lat McConkey and in one of my fantasy leagues that was much needed as I make this late playoff push. We're staying at 2-5 right now, so we need some wins on the season. So just overall, like you said, you didn't really miss too much. You kind of figured that LA was going to turn it around at some point.
Yeah.
And last night was that night.
How about and again, be honest, I think I've watched the Chargers. That's the second time I've watched them this year. How about Gadsden, the tight end? Aronde Gadsden, he's a rookie tight end. He's number 86. So last week I think he had 7 catches for like 160 yards and a touchdown. Last night he goes for 5 catches, 77 yards and a touchdown. This dude is a monster. Like when you go and you watch him, he is a mismatch nightmare. And you look at this guy, so he's a rookie out of Syracuse. He was a 5th-round pick this year. And you just look at that and he's just one of those players where you look at him and you go, how did you fall to the 5th round? How did nobody out there see this potential in you? Because you look at him out. I mean, I'll tell you right now, like if that's the dude you're getting moving forward, that's a top 5 tight end in the NFL right now.
For real.
Like,
for real.
This dude's legit.
Yeah. And just pairing him up he's adding to another weapon for the Los Angeles Chargers. Because when you look at how their roster's constructed, it's no surprise that Justin Herbert can't go out here and throw for 400 if Harbaugh actually wanted to say, hey, we're air this thing out.
Oh, yeah.
With all the weapons he has as a receiver, then adding him at tight end as well. It's just so different now when you look at that AFC West. Now, the Raiders are the Raiders. But when you look at the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Chargers, like
it's going to be tough,
It's going to be tough. You're going to have to physically work your way out of that division. And again, when you have Patrick Mahomes out there in your division, again, the Chargers start off the season knocking them off. So it's like, okay, well, this may be a fun ride for the teams out west.
Yeah, very much so. And while we're talking about it, you got to give a shout out to Bo Nix because all that dude's done is won since he's gotten to the NFL. So we will, that's going to be an interesting one to watch. The Chiefs, I will say this, now that the Chiefs are healthy, probably might see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again. They look really good now. They look really, really good. So
well, here we go again.
Exactly. So that's your Thursday Night Football recap. Last night again, Chargers taking down the Vikings 37-10. But it's Final Score Friday here on the show. We love to get your text 205-834-9450. Already have a handful of them coming in on your predictions for the weekend. We'd love to hear from you as we'll get to some of those next, and we'll fill in the gaps, the rest of the things you need to know heading into the college football weekend. That's all next here on Morning JOX. Welcome back into Morning Jocks here on your Friday. Appreciate you making us a part of your morning each and every day here on Jocks as we get you set for another great weekend, week 9 of the college football season, as it absolutely continues to fly by, unfortunately, sadly, but here we are. And this is going to be a big weekend because there's a number of games coming up, a lot of them in the SEC specifically with, maybe not complete playoff elimination games. Now, if you're LSU, for example, and you lose to Texas A&M, probably eliminated from the playoff conversation. But I mean, Missouri and Vanderbilt, right? I wouldn't say that's, I guess, a de facto elimination game, but it's a separation game in terms of who walks away with a victory in that one. So there's a lot on the line to go around this weekend when we look big picture at what this season's going to come down to. But you're going to have 3 games to get you started with tonight if you're not taking in some high school football action. So at 6 o'clock, you're going to have North Texas and Charlotte. That's going to be an American Conference matchup there, as North Texas been pretty sharp this year. They are a big-time favorite in this one, 25.5 points there, as that'll be your 6 o'clock game. Then at 6:30, a classic ACC rivalry, Damian, Virginia Tech and California.
Let's go.
A classic rivalry in the history of that conference. But yeah, you have the 5-2 Cal Bears, led by offensive coordinator Brian Harsin.
Yes, sir.
And the Virginia Tech Hokies as they continue to look for a new coach. But so this is interesting. So Cal is 5-2, Virginia Tech 2-5. The game's being played in Blacksburg. Virginia Tech is a 6.5 point favorite.
There's got to be an injury somewhere for Cal. Like, it's something's with all this wagering issues, especially in the NBA. I don't put nothing past these people now. Like, Vegas knows something. We got to investigate that one.
Well, the people know something.
Like 6.5? They're getting that much home cooking?
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to try to pronounce the kid from California's last name, the quarterback.
Yeah.
But I'm like, is he hurt?
Something's a little fishy about that one.
Yeah, that's a little interesting there. And then your final night game, 9 p.m. kick on the CBS Sports Network. Boise State taking on Nevada. They're in a Mountain West duel, and Boise State a big favorite in that one. So those are the 3 games that you have tonight. If you just can't wait for tomorrow and you need a little bit of Friday college football action, that'll be what you have. You also have game 1 of the World Series tonight. I know a lot of us have already disengaged with baseball season, and let's be honest, we're rooting between the Dodgers and Canada. Like, pick your poison, I guess, right? But that game is going to be first pitch tonight on Fox, 7 p.m. there with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, as game 1 will take place at the Rogers Center up there in Toronto.
If you had to make a pick for the World Series, who do you think ends up winning it all?
Who do I want to win, or who do I think will win?
Who do you think will win?
Oh, Dodgers, no question.
Okay. Who do you want to win?
The Blue Jays. Because I'm a Yankees fan, and then I can say, well, we're the second best team in baseball because we lost to the best team.
That's it.
That's what I'm going to take with me. But yeah, I think that the Dodgers are they're healthy now, and
they're loaded.
They're good, man.
They got arguably the greatest baseball player to ever live, right?
He's certainly something. He would be on the short list, at least of the modern era, because Ohtani's pretty special. But I'm just glad Greg would get to watch his first baseball game of the year tonight. So, because I know he's a big Dodgers fan. Right?
Yeah, huge.
I'm just kidding. I'm giving him a hard time. All right, let's get to the text line real quick, because a lot of you sending in your final score Friday predictions, as we asked, 205-834-9450 on the Courtesy GMC text line. We got our picks coming up here in just a little bit, but first, let's get to your score predictions. Let's see. Tim texted in this morning. He says, can't wait for you guys to get – he texted in at 5:45 before we got on the air. Can't wait for you guys to get going this morning. Thank you for the energy that y'all bring every single day. You guys are appreciated. Tim from Coleman, you are appreciated, my friend.
You are appreciated.
You are appreciated. Alan chimes in. He's got 4 score predictions for us. Oh, you're not going to like this one. Let's see. He has Alabama 31, South Carolina 21. Okay. Arkansas 28. Auburn 17. Mississippi State 24. Texas 14.
Oh, the upset.
And he's got Oklahoma 28, Ole Miss 27.
And that's where he lost me.
Yeah.
That's where he lost me.
At least y'all were close, right?
Yeah, sure.
Some coaches like being close. Matt in Pell City chimes in with the score prediction. He's got 2. He says Alabama's going to win 41-10.
Oh, boy.
That would be
That'd be
comfortable win.
That'd be quick.
That would be comfortable. And then how about this one? Sign me up for this game. Mississippi State upsets Texas 31-30.
Ho ho!
That sounds like a great 3 hours spent, if that's the case. Let's see. J Mac chimes in. He says Nussy is going to get it together and LSU takes down Texas A&M 28-24.
That's what they call him, Nussy. I don't.
I thought that was the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, I don't like that name for some reason.
You don't like it?
It just doesn't sound right. I don't like that at all.
Sounds like we're a couple letters away from
I don't like that.
an interesting nickname. But hey, he thinks that they're going to get it done against the Aggies this weekend. That would be big for them.
Was it you that told me that Texas A&M hasn't beaten LSU since what in Death Valley since what 1990 something?
I did not share that stat with you, but that's a good stat.
Yeah,
it's been a minute then.
I don't know, man. It's so I go back and forth with that game because I think that LSU, the home field advantage that they have, but I just think Texas A&M is for real. I really do. I think last week was kind of a wake-up call with Arkansas of, okay, we can't play with our food. We're too close to the end of the season. We got the light at the end of the tunnel. We can't slow up now. And it's just hard for me to think that Texas A&M isn't going to go in there and dog walk them.
So the last 8 matchups in this series have all been won by the home team. And
so it has been a while.
You said it's been since when did they?
Sometime in the 90s.
Let's see. The last time they got a win in Baton Rouge was 1994. So It's been 31 years. Hey, there's a first time for everything. Right?
Absolutely. This
you
game,
might as well.
This game isn't at night.
No, that'll help.
Yeah, you heard about Death Valley at night. They say it gets wicked over there. So I've heard.
For most schools.
Yeah. You know.
Not for one.
Yeah, when the coaching staff is on the sideline at beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens again this year. Can't wait. 2 weeks. Let's see. This one chimes in. What did they say? He says it's going to be raining big time in the game. Yeah, go with your best running game. He likes Auburn in the under. And Damian points out that Arkansas has actually been the more efficient running team this year. So hey, numbers don't lie.
They don't. It's just
not opinion, just numbers don't lie.
Right. More consistent run game. Actually, Arkansas will choose to run the football.
I will say this. I think that the 1-2 punch you have with Taylor Green and with Washington there in the backfield for Arkansas is difficult. But Auburn's run defense is also significantly better than Arkansas. So while Arkansas may have actually a better run game, I think Auburn can more than make up for that with what they do defensively because Arkansas doesn't do anything defensively, and that's why they don't have their head coach anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jeremy chimes in. He says Alabama's going to win 35-14, and Auburn loses in the pouring rain 21-20.
Ooh, that's sloppy.
That would be a tough one.
At least they scored 20 points in the SEC game.
Yeah, no joke. So after a call to action this morning, Don chimes in. He didn't want to give a prediction last week, but this week he has given one. He says, "Okay, Auburn 31-28 over Arkansas. Freeze gets to keep his job for another week."
So is that a good? I'm sorry, I should not react in that way. That is a good thing for Hugh Freeze. I was going to say, is that really a good thing if he keeps his job for another week? But sorry, that was the Ole Miss in me.
I mean, at this point, it's kind of like starting a vacation early, right?
Yeah, right. Like, even after a win, does he – I mean, we saw Billy Napier. He got a win over Mississippi State and still lost his job. All I'm saying is, is that really a good thing if he keeps his job for another week?
See, I think this is a good one to end on for right now, and this kind of just shows you where the fan base is. For a lot of people, unfortunately. It says, with all these NBA arrests and investigations, I think it's time we start asking, when do we investigate Hugh Freeze? I'm kidding. War damn, maybe we can pull one out. Maybe we can pull one out.
Maybe. There's a key word in that.
Well, maybe you can. And that would certainly be a big one for Auburn and the fan base this weekend. But it's time for our picks, our favorite time of the week. Me and Damian, we give you our final thoughts on the biggest games going on around the SEC this weekend and our final predictions for Alabama and Auburn as they head into week 9. That's coming up next right here on JOX. Alrighty, you know what time it is. When you hear that music, it is time for me and Damian to deliver our picks to you. Welcome back into Morning Jocks. This is how we do things each and every Friday here on the show. And this week, thanks to the never mind. I'm not going to take a shot at the other conferences. We're only going to pick SEC games this weekend because that's where the best games are. So we're going to start. We're going to go through all 7 SEC games you have coming up this weekend, and we will, as typical, save Auburn and Alabama for last. So if you're wondering why, well, why are you skipping over those in the thing? We save them for last because we know that's where the money is. So let's start off at 11 a.m. I know Damian is chomping at the bit because he's got revenge on his mind because Ole Miss, they decided to choke it away against Georgia last Saturday, and now they got to prove something against the Sooners there in Norman, Oklahoma. I hope they fare better than when my team went to Norman, Oklahoma last year, Damian, because that was a miserable experience. One of the worst games I've ever been to in my entire life. But Ole Miss, they're a better team than Alabama was last year, so I think Ole Miss is going to fare a little bit better. But Ole Miss, they are headed to Norman, Oklahoma, a 5.5-point favorite in this one right now. The total sits at 51.5. Is John Mateer 100% healthy? I'll tell you right now, I think in this one, I'd certainly have to lean Ole Miss, at least in terms of the point spread. I know they're going on the road. But again, I need to see Oklahoma. I need to see them look like they did the first month of the season before I'm going to be totally back on that bandwagon. Now, that's certainly a possibility. Defensively, I really don't have any concerns about them. But offensively, I do. And I need to see that John Mateer is totally healthy and that offense is backfiring on all cylinders. And the fact that you saw Trinidad Chambliss do what he was able. I know they didn't win the game, but he was playing at a pretty darn high level in his first road start in the FBS, and it was against Georgia in Stanford Stadium. So that makes me think that going to Norman is not going to be too big of a challenge for him. So give me Ole Miss. I think they cover this. I think Ole Miss wins this one outright, personally.
Atta, baby. I'm with you, man. I think what happened there late in that ball game leaves a bitter taste in Ole Miss' mouth and their performance with Georgia. And I'm kind of with you. Until Oklahoma shows me they can get back to form, I just think that is everything kind of trends towards Ole Miss figuring a lot of it out. So I think Ole Miss wins a competitive but a clear separating game over in Norman, and we get back to our winning ways.
And again, I mentioned it earlier in the week, just another banger 11 a.m. game. I mean, we are on a heater right now in the SEC with these 11 a.m. kickoff matchups, and this is certainly one of the better ones that we've had. All right, moving on to the 2:30 slot now. We have Missouri and Vanderbilt. That's going to be the side of game day. Poor old Vanderbilt. They have to have an Alabama fan as the guest picker, Nate Bargatze, because he's a big Alabama guy, right? That's why he did the game a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I'm glad that for certain schools, we find people that are fans of the program to be the guest picker. I guess Theo Vaughn was busy this weekend.
They didn't want to repeat.
Do better, College Game Day. Anyways, Missouri and Vanderbilt, they're going to be doing battle there in Nashville. Vandy, a 2.5-point favorite in this one. The over-under sitting at 53.5 right now. Look, you're telling me they're playing this game at home and they're an underdog against a Missouri team that has lost a little bit of luster after. I know they had a close one against Alabama and they played well in that one. And then you had another game against Auburn where obviously Auburn took them to the brink. I just think the discrepancy in quarterbacks here, I think we've seen Ahmad Hardy be human now that he's actually played some real defenses. And I think Diego Pavia is just a significantly better quarterback than Pribula is right now. Vanderbilt at home, it's hard for me not to lean that way. So, yeah, give me Vandy. I think they win by touchdown.
I'm with you. I think Vanderbilt's just the better team, straight up. I think that what they're able to do as far as ground control and also when it comes to the quarterback position, Pavia is better than Pribula.
Yeah.
And if the game has to come down to one of these quarterbacks making a grown man throw, I lean more towards Diego Pavia and just everything he's been for this Vanderbilt program. And I think Vanderbilt wins by a touchdown or more. I love the story that Vanderbilt is starting to become. And when you watch them, it's real that this ain't your mom and pop's Vanderbilt team anymore.
They're just a good football team.
They are a great football team, and I think they keep this momentum rolling and they defend home field. Give me Vandy.
And I think that's the difference in this year's Vandy and last year's Vandy. Where last year it felt like, they were an okay team that was led by Diego Pavia, and he really raised them up. And it feels like now they're just a good football team that also happens to have a very good quarterback, and that elevates them again. But they are, in my opinion, a significantly better team this year than they were last year, and that's shout out to Clark Lee, no doubt about it. All right, how about 3:15 SEC Network, Texas, still hanging on there at number 22 in the rankings. They're going to be traveling down to Stark Vegas to take on Mississippi State. Mississippi State looking for that first SEC win, and Texas a 6.5-point favorite on the road. This one is tough. And again, I really want to believe in Mississippi State in this spot. And I think, what I saw Texas, the poor performance they had against Kentucky last week, it's just hard. Is it, do you bank on them doing that again? How does Mississippi State respond by losing the way they did to Florida? I mean, you should have won that game. It was going to be a field goal. You're going to walk out of the swamp with a victory, but unfortunately, you threw the interception, and now you're sitting here winless in SEC play. This one really is difficult for me, but at this point, I feel like I have to lean Texas just a little bit. Now, I think 6.5 on the road, maybe that's a little rich for my blood. I think Mississippi State might cover, but I want to believe in Mississippi State, but I'm going to need to see them to win before I'm back on that train. So I'll take Texas.
I think this will be a 4-quarter ball game. Texas is going to be sweating all the way into a final drive where they kick a game-winning field goal. I think it's tied going into the last few minutes of the ball game. Texas and Arch has a drive that looks very similar to what his uncles have done over the years. And Arch dials it up. They find themselves in field goal position. And I think Texas wins a close one, 20-17.
I think the defense for Texas is still, maybe they're not quite as good as we thought they were at the beginning of the year, but they're still good enough to give you they're going to be difficult. And I just, they're still technically alive when it comes to the postseason and all these things. Like, it just feels like this is, a big game for them. So I'll go with Texas as well. All right, now at 6:30, another big one on ABC. You've got Texas A&M. They're traveling down to Baton Rouge to take on LSU, a night game in Death Valley. So as we talked about earlier, that's difficult for just about everybody in the conference. Texas A&M, a 2.5-point favorite right now. The over-under set at 49.5. All right, this is one of those where it's hard to go against trends, and I'm almost there with Texas A&M where I can forget everything I've seen from the last decade plus of them in the SEC, and I'm ready to move on, and hey, this is the best team that they've had, and I think it very well may be. But you've got an LSU team in a night game in Death Valley. This is their season. This game right here, LSU, if they do not win, we are having a very interesting conversation next week about them and Brian Kelly. It feels like an opportunity where LSU is going to play their best game of the year. Maybe the defense just comes up big, and Texas A&M, a little sloppy on the road in a tough environment. So, but I mean, barely. I'm going LSU. I think they get the upset.
Until proven otherwise, many teams have tried, but all of them have fallen. I think Texas A&M handles their business. I don't think the pressure's too much for them. It's so disgusting to say, but I think Texas A&M is for real, and LSU is just another team in their way. Give me Texas A&M to handle business against LSU this weekend.
All right, there you go. Damian likes A&M. I'm taking LSU there. That should be a great one tomorrow night. And then we'll get to Alabama and Auburn here in just a second. But the last game, I guess time-wise in the day, you're going to have at 6:45, Tennessee at Kentucky. So Tennessee coming off that win, or that loss to Alabama. Kentucky coming off that close loss to Texas. I think this just feels like a bounce-back game for Tennessee. Offensively speaking, they're going to go, man, we scored 20 points last week. I'm not going to be surprised if they go out there and, put up 35 plus. Look, Kentucky, it's going to be not the easiest thing in the world going to Kroger Field, but I think Tennessee a little ticked off after last week. They're going to be motivated. Give me the Vols.
Yeah, I think it'll be an ugly, but you'll see that Tennessee is just trying to right the ship. Like, hey, man, I think Kentucky can physically kind of, muddy it up a little bit, but I still don't think they have enough Jimmys and Joes to go blow for blow. They find themselves down by 2 scores. You can pretty much wrap it up. I think Tennessee wins convincingly, but it may not be the prettiest of ball games that Josh Heupel wants to look back on the film.
I think that's a very possible outcome for this one coming up tomorrow night. But we do have Alabama and Auburn left. Auburn and Arkansas there in Fayetteville. Alabama traveling to Columbia to take on South Carolina. So we'll give you our picks for those matchups as well as get the rest of yours. 205-834-9450. You can chime in on the courtesy GMC text line. Our picks for Alabama and Auburn. That's coming up next here on Morning Jocks. Final few minutes here on Morning Jocks. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell with you until 7 o'clock when we'll hand you off to McElroy and Kublik in the morning. And we've been giving you our picks for the weekend's SEC slate. And we've got 2 games left before we get to y'all on the courtesy GMC text line. Again, 205-834-9450 if you'd like to chime in with your picks. So we'll go in the order of which they will be played tomorrow for the final two games, Damian, because we've got Auburn and Alabama to get to. First up, Auburn, 11:45 kick there from Fayetteville. They're taking on the Hogs. And Arkansas right now, what I'm looking at, 3.5-point favorite. The over-under sitting at 55.5. As we saw, I will just say this for the over or the over-under. If you look at the forecast, might want to lean the under because it looks like it's going to be a lot of rain and some heavy winds tomorrow during this matchup. Again, as far as Auburn goes, look, is this the best chance they have to get an SEC win so far? Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But I do have legitimate concerns. Now, I feel better with the weather conditions, but I have legitimate concerns of, I mean, seriously, if Arkansas goes and scores 28 points or more in this game, can Auburn match that? And for a team that hasn't even scored 20 points in SEC play yet this season, I want to be able to sit here and tell you I think Auburn's going to win this football game. But until I see something more from them, until I see them put it all together, even against an opponent the quality of an Arkansas that's fired their head coach already, I don't know if this is a team that can go on the road and beat a team that has a better quarterback than them in Taylon Green. So, we're splitting hairs here, but by a thin margin, I'm going Arkansas. I think they pull off the victory.
It's going to be an interesting conversation Monday if that does happen, but I'm right there with you. I think Arkansas wins 20-17 in a very sloppy, ugly, rainy ball game, and I lean on the effectiveness of Arkansas's run game. Yes, I know Auburn defensively, they can kind of pin their ears back, but I still have I'm with you. I still have question marks on the offensive side of the ball. Can you, besides Baylor, that's the only time I've seen Auburn all season long just commit to running the football. Yeah, weather's going to permit it, but also I've seen you not finish drives. I've seen you had to settle for field goals, and I know Alex McPherson is dealing with a lot. You still put him out there. He still puts on the pads like everybody else. So in the event it does come down to a field goal, I mean, Arkansas has the healthier one. And also the offense, to your point. Okay, if Taylon Green has to run the football, we've seen those long strides of his.
They're going to be all right.
They're going to be just fine if they have to go ground and pound. So I think that right now, until proven otherwise, it's just hard to sit here and say that even with the elements being what they are, that Auburn can go on the road and knock off this Arkansas squad. So I think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be physical. I think it's going to be sloppy. I think Arkansas wins a close one, and Monday is going to be an interesting conversation around the Auburn faithful.
Yeah, I like what you said. 20-17, 24-20, something kind of in that range feels right for this matchup. All right, then you have Alabama, 2:30 kick on ABC. Alabama, South Carolina there from Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia. I will say the fact that this is not a night game, I certainly think that helped because that place rocked. I mean, you got sandstorm going. It's late at night, maybe a little chilly up there. That thing would be rocking. And I think South Carolina, right, they're going to be motivated. The crowd's going to get into it. They realize how big of an opportunity this is, not only because of who they're playing, but because the season hasn't gone the way that they had hoped. However, much like Auburn, why should I believe that what I've seen for 7 games now is going to automatically get better when you play the best team that you played all season? Now, maybe it will. And maybe this is Lenore Sellers' legacy game. It will have to be, I think, if South Carolina is going to get the victory. I'm very interested, though. How does Alabama come out after 4 straight games against ranked opponents? You know a bye week's coming up. South Carolina, maybe this would be a team you could overlook. But are you going to do that? That's my big question for Alabama. But I think Alabama, they should be able to win this game easily. They're an 11.5-point favorite. I'm feeling, 35-17, something like that. I think Alabama wins pretty comfortably. Maybe interesting early on, but I think ultimately South Carolina's offense is terrible, and Alabama's offense is really, really good. So I'm going to go Alabama. I think they win by 2 touchdowns. Something like that.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing from Ty Simpson and the offense for Alabama, it's just too much. They're clicking on all cylinders. They can beat you any way they possibly can. And the way Ty Simpson is dialed in, I just think it's just too much for South Carolina to overcome. I don't know if they can go blow for blow with what Alabama presents offensively, and they're hitting their stride at the right time. So I think Alabama wins somewhere around 38-14, 38-17, where, like you said, it may look a little slow coming out the gate, but once they settle in, you start to see the separation. Give me Alabama big.
So there you go. Me and Damian both like Alabama to win by a couple of scores, and we both like Arkansas to win a close one there, and the yucky weather that's going to be taking place in Fayetteville. All right, let's wrap up with some of your predictions on the Courtesy GMC text line. Like Josh from Coleman, he's sending in a bunch. He goes Alabama 35, South Carolina 14. Mississippi State with the upset 17-14 over Texas.
Ooh.
He's got A&M 28, LSU 10. He's got Missouri 31, Vanderbilt 28. Ole Miss 42, Oklahoma 35.
Like that.
And Arkansas 28, Auburn 17. Appreciate you sending in all of those scores there, Josh. Let's see. Ken says Roll Tide from Minnesota. He has Alabama winning 35-13. All right. Appreciate you listening.
Okay.
Up north. Matt, here we go. Matt in Pell City. I said it earlier. He says the upset of the weekend, Syracuse takes down Georgia Tech.
Stop.
And ends the undefeated. I asked somebody, well, he didn't give a score prediction, but he thinks they're going to upset it.
No.
I was hoping somebody was going to mention that game.
I am not going to sip that Kool-Aid. Georgia Tech, not the Syracuse. It cannot happen.
Now, if Angeli hadn't gotten hurt earlier in the year, that's an interesting game.
Exactly.
But now it should not be an interesting game. Georgia Tech should be
Haynes King.
pretty comfortable.
Haynes King.
He's good, man.
The former Texas A&M legend.
He's turned into a nice little player there for Brent Key. Let's see. Matt in Pell City also says Auburn takes down the Bacon Bid 17-3. And the Bacon Bid. I like that. And he likes Missouri 41-38 in a shootout there with Vanderbilt. Let's see. Someone says Aggies are the 5th winningest program in the SEC in 12 years. Jesus Christ. I mean, that's fair. You haven't won anything of worth, which I know you pointed out, but
right.
I was more so talking about in that game, the home team has won 8 straight games in that matchup, and A&M hasn't won in Baton Rouge in 31 years. That's more so the angle that I was looking at it from. Let's see. Bama Abroad chimes in. He says, Tide may win this one by 3 touchdowns. And, yeah, they might. It's a personal shot he added in there. Let's see. That's it for us. We'll be back Monday at 6 a.m. Appreciate you tuning in. Macro and Cubic in the morning is next.